to put my recorder over.
May the 18th, 1989. And Jimmy and I are going to speak about some old times, the days of our youth. And I hope you'll bear with us. This is mainly for posterity, for our grandchildren to enjoy. Now, Jimmy, how you doing today?
Oh, just about breaking even.
We're going to talk about Ireland, the time that you and I were over there visiting Aunt Margaret. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the year?
1963.
Right, 1963. I think it was in the summer, wasn't it? July or August?
Yeah, July.
Do you remember the Imperial Hotel in Sligo?
Yes.
We stopped in there. And I think of the Imperial Hotel, I think of the waiter with the hot water bottle. He's going through the hall, and the hot water bottle was so hot he was juggling from one hand to the other. They put a hot water bottle in your bed because they had no heat. And do you remember the Irish gypsies?
Oh, yeah.
What do they call them?
Tinkers.
Tinkers, yeah. Do you remember the time the Tinkers we stopped on the road to talk to them?
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, he says, one of them says, cross me hand with a silver and then say 10 Hail Marys for you.
Yeah, they came running across the road to us.
The next thing I know, he's got his hand in me pocket.
And they're sticking their hands through the car window.
Yeah.
And give me 7 and 6pence and I'll say 8 Hail Marys for you. Jimmy got so frightened he stepped on the gas and we almost went into the ditch.
You were trying.
And then we got to Aunt Maggie's. She lived in a little, what was the house like that she lived in? You remember?
Them houses that's all together. What do you call
Row houses, yeah. They're all joined together. It was a nice little house, but it had no bathroom. And we never could figure out where the bathroom was, but when Evelyn and Arthur came down the following year, they had a toilet and wash basin put in for her. And then we all chipped in up here and paid for it. Now, the other day we were trying to remember how many sisters our mother had. See if you can name them now, Jimmy. Mom's name was Liza Ann.
Mary. Mima, Katie, Laurie.
Mary, Mima, Florrie, Katie, Maggie, that was the youngest. Martha is the oldest.
Yeah.
And my mother, Liza Ann. Now, only 3 of those ladies got married. All the rest never got married.
Katie got married.
Oh, yeah, Katie got married, too. She got married to Andy Bowl. Well, why was it that the others didn't get married? Do you remember?
Oh, there wasn't many men worthwhile marrying over there. They were all potato diggers.
They couldn't find any. My father, Pop told me that he said that they thought they were too good for anybody. But that's why they never got married. They're waiting for Mr. Perfect to come along. But I remember another thing about visiting Aunt Maggie. She had a little wood pile in the backyard, and my son Tom, he cut enough wood. He was only 11 years old at the time, but he cut enough wood for her there to last her a couple of years, I think. The kid was out there cutting the wood, very industrious. Remember the 1930 Chevy that we bought, Mom and Pop bought?
Yeah.
What did we used to do with that? What did we do with that in the wintertime?
Dead storage.
We put it in dead storage.
Yeah, because where could you park it? The streets are full of snow. And
Yeah,
you didn't have a garage.
Our brother Randall, he got mad when he heard us put it in dead storage. Remember how mad he got?
Yeah.
Putting it in dead storage. Well, we figured, well, help it to last longer. Well, he did keep that car 7 years. 7 years. 19.
You bought when you got in the fire department, you bought another car.
Yeah, yeah. I bought a 37 Dodge, brand new. And we traded in the Chevy. And some policeman bought the Chevy, didn't he? And we went and took the radio out, went to where he bought it. We said, hey, we left the radio in there. That was some nervy, and very nervy on our part.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I said, hey, we shouldn't have left, and he let us take it out. So we took the radio out. Of course, the radio was unusual to have a radio in a car in those days.
Yeah.
So we went up to his house, and he could just well say, hey, look, I bought the car, it's my radio, you know. See? I remember the rides we used to take in the 19 Chevy and the weekends, Mom and Pop. And
Oh yeah, we were always going up New York State.
Gone through the Parkway we'd ride.
Yeah.
And do you remember the price of gas then?
It's 10 gallons for $1.
10 gallons for $1, and then they give you a set of dishes.
Who the hell had $1 in them days?
I was thinking about this car that we rented in Ireland.
Volkswagen.
Yeah, well, the year before you came over, I rented another one, and it had a rock in the road. You know, driving along, had a little dent in the fender, and I was thinking when I get back to turning the car, the guy's probably going to charge me a couple $100 for that dent, you know. And he's walking around the car, and he spotted it. He says, he says, I see you had a bit of a tip. I says, yeah, I hit a rock in the road. He says, well, he says, make it $5. $5. I paid him gladly. And then left the car at the airport, and I kept getting letters. He told us to leave the car at the airport. Someone must have taken the car for a joyride. He started sending me bills, but I just ignored them. There's a lot more mileage on it, you know.
Yeah.
And then when you come over with Tom, my Tom, you came over with him on the plane, and I met you at the airport. Remember that?
Shannon, yeah.
The Shannon Airport, yeah. And did you stay at the Bunratty Castle? Oh, we had dinner there.
Dinner.
Yeah. This motel we stayed at was near the Bunratty Castle, and they served meals. What kind of meals did they serve there? Remember? They were served the way the English lived 500 years ago. You know, they had girls playing the harp. Remember?
Oh yeah, they were all in costumes.
Yeah, and they put a bib around you. Yeah, but and that thing made you king.
They give you a hot beer.
The beer was hot, yeah. I have a picture of you with the king's crown on. And remember the Blarney Stone over there?
Yeah.
You had to get down on your back.
Yeah, everything fell out of your pockets.
None of money fell out of your pockets. I remember going around the Lakes of Killarney.
The Ring of Kerry, wasn't it?
Ring of Kerry, yeah.
The Lakes of Killarney.
Yeah. And the guy that was a horse and, what do they call it?
Horse and buggy?
A little sidecar.
Sidecar, yeah.
Sidecar, yeah. And he tells us all about the States. He wanted to come over there. And we stayed at the Galway Bay Hotel on the way up to visit Aunt Maggie. Remember, we were kidding around and putting everything into each other's suitcase. They give you a pot for under the bed, and you put that in Tommy's suitcase. Tommy was only about 12 years old then, and the next night he had everything in your suitcase he could find. Now, Jim, do you remember the name of the hotel there in Stranola?
Oh, Keys, wasn't it?
Keys.
Keys.
Keys Hotel, yeah. And we stayed you and I and Tom stayed at the Keys Hotel, and Aunt Maggie lived down the hill. And we arranged for Aunt Maggie to go up to the hotel every Sunday for dinner. And then he would send us the bill over to the States, and we paid it then. And when we were staying in that hotel, Mr. Key was counting his money in this room, and we were in the room, and all of a sudden he goes out of the room, and leaves a big pile of money on the table there, you know. I said, hey, let's get out of here before, you know, he probably picked that, you know, that some of the money is missing and accused us of taking it. So I told him, where's Mr. Key? Hey, don't leave us here with all this money. Oh, he says, everybody's honest around here, no one to bother anything. Well, anyway, we came back, getting back to when originally Mom left Ireland and came over to the States. And remember where we stayed? Pop met us at the dock. I think he told me he had a taxi cab.
Yeah, I had a taxi.
Take us over to, what was the street?
65th.
No, 110th and Lexington, before we went to 65th Street.
No.
We stayed 110th Street and Lexington Avenue. That was the first time we come over, 1912.
Yeah, the first time we come over, we stayed in, I know, 103rd it was.
Oh, 103rd.
On that big hill.
On a big hill, yeah. That was before,
It was 1912.
1912, yeah. And how many years did we live there?
About 2 days. The World War broke out, Mama didn't like it there because there was too many crimes. So we went back home. We stayed about a year up there.
And then where did we move to?
Well, then World War I broke out, and we had to get out of Europe, you know, if you wanted to get over here safe, because the Germans with their submarines, it took us 12 days to come across.
That a zigzag, of course.
Because the submarines was all over the place.
Yeah, you had to go this way and that way.
Yeah, it took 12 days. And Pop met us at the dock, and we moved to 410 East 65th.
Oh, 410. That was at the
suburban homes.
Yeah, I have 430 here.
That was where we moved to after we were there. We only had 2 rooms there. It was too small.
Yeah, and then I have here Mrs. Broadhead. Who was that, the janitor?
Yeah, the janitor at that 433.
And I got here that we lived there till 1917. That was, the war was on then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
this country wasn't in the war yet. We didn't go until 1918.
Yeah, and then we moved to 69th Street.
Yeah, 505.
505 East 69th on the top floor. That was a nice apartment there, wasn't it?
Waterfront property.
Yeah. It looked right on the East River.
Yeah, you can look out the window, you see the East River.
Well, that's valuable property today.
You pay plenty to live there today.
You remember our neighbor across the immediate neighbor?
Mrs. Freeman.
Mrs. Freeman, yeah. She was a midwife. Everyone was born. No, everyone was born in.
Yeah.
Was she born in that house?
Yeah, 432.
Mom didn't go to the hospital, Evelyn. And Mrs. Freeman was a midwife, a little bit of a woman. I can see her now. And then on the same floor was Mrs. Crestel.
Yeah.
Remember her? And Mrs. Lepler.
Yeah.
Mrs. Lepler, she committed suicide.
He jumped off the roof.
Yeah. And Mama
said, I seen her going down.
Mom saw her going down. She had trouble with her husband.
Right past our window.
Yeah. And then the settlement house is next door. It's like a neighborhood house for all the...
They built that while we lived there.
Yeah. And there was a man in charge of it. His name was Mr. Bluffy, but you don't seem to remember him. He was a tall, gray-haired guy, and he was like starting everything for the kids, and sent to the children in the neighborhood to these farms in the summertime with the Herald Tribune Fresh Air Fund.
Yeah.
He went away one summer to a dentist. Dentist and his wife up in New York State. And what did they want to do?
Well, they liked me very much, and they asked for me to come back the next year. I was sent up there special the next year.
And you went back the following year?
Yeah, and then they wanted to ask your mother if we can adopt you.
They didn't have any children, huh?
No, they were Jewish.
Yeah.
They were Jewish.
You might have become a dentist.
Yeah. Probably would have.
Fresh Air Fund.
Because them Jews, they have to send everybody to college. You know?
There's Heisman and Breyer. Does that mean any ring a bell to you?
Oh yeah, it was a bread factory, huh?
Yeah, they were up in the 72nd Street.
Yeah, in the East River.
Yeah. I remember going up there with you and Randall, and we'd get wrapping paper. Well, we get the bread, and it was wrapped in this strong brown paper, and we used to make kites out of that.
Yeah.
we lived there till 1924. It was quite a length of time then. 18 or 6 years. 6 years we lived there. Then we moved to the Colonial Dame's house. 1925. Remember that?
Yeah.
Did you like it there at first?
No.
Oh, I used to hate it down there first, Kids were, this neighborhood kids were running all over the property.
Yeah.
And we had to go out and chase them. And we were only kids ourselves, and imagine how popular we were in that neighborhood. And then we got them so they wouldn't come up on the property anymore. Then we decided to get them out of the street altogether.
Yeah.
We didn't want them to play ball in the street anymore, And I remember painting a sign on the garage, no ball playing allowed, Oh boy. But before we move to the Colonial House, there are a few things I want to talk about. 69th Street. Do you remember the fellas started a jazz band there? Remember the band that they started? What was the name of that band?
Oh, the Ginger Snap Melody Boys.
The Ginger Snap Melody Boys, yeah. And there was Smith. Smithy, what was his first name? Ted Smith. He played the saxophone.
Yeah.
And the guy in the school who played the piano in the assembly hall, he was playing the piano. And who played the drums?
Chris Amano.
Chris Amano, that was the vegetable guy's son.
The Italian grocery
Yeah,
store.
and then the butcher's son, he was in the band too, Schilling. And that band went on to become pretty high-class band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They changed their name.
I don't know what that
They changed their name to like had a girl there, and it was like Margaret Smith Society Orchestra, and they played on the radio.
They used to play in the movie theaters too. Amateur night, Remember the amateur night?
Oh yeah, they'd have a movie and they'd have the amateur night. That's what they should have today. And I'd take my little ventriloquist dummy Jerry. I'd go up on a stage and see how I'd make out. Well, anyway, we moved to 65th Street. I mean 61st 61st Street, the Colonial House. It was an old house, colonial house, built by John Adams for his daughter Abigail Adams when she married Colonel Smith. And this today is a shrine. It's tax exempt.
Landmark.
So that they'll never tear it down. The stone walls, solid stone walls there are about 2 feet thick, more than 2 feet. And it was so cool in there during the hottest summer's days.
It was built in 1799.
1799 it was built.
Remember in the back of the house they had it in brick?
Yeah, you could say the year, 1799 brick. And they told me it was 5 miles from New York City. New York City was down around the Battery.
Yeah, 14th Street was uptown.
Yeah. I have a postcard that they gave us. We went back there last summer. Tommy and Kathy and Fran and little Tom, we visited. They gave us postcards of, I don't know if I ever showed it to you, about where it looked when it was built. The river was there and you could see the house.
Yeah.
Right there.
The river almost come up to the door.
Actually, it was the stables, this house.
Originally it was a stable.
Yeah, the other house was like
knocked down.
A couple of 100 yards.
They knocked it down, I think, to build that bridge. Queensboro Bridge.
Yeah, that would have been just where the bridge was, yeah. John Patrick with us too. Yeah, John Patrick. That's my son Tom's youngest boy. And do you remember Andy Bowl?
Oh yeah.
He used to come over and visit us. We'd be all sitting down at dinner and Bill would bring us, here's Andy coming. And we got sick and tired of him always coming over.
Yeah.
And finally I had to say, look Andy, I hate to tell you this, but we don't want you coming here anymore. Well, I guess he didn't like me so much for telling him that, but it was the only way to get rid of the guy. He made a pest out of himself.
Well, that was after she died.
After Katie died, yeah. He was kind of creepy kind of guy. And Aunt Mary and Aunt Mima was always, they lived about 4 or 5 blocks away, their little apartment
York Avenue.
On York Avenue. 1298 York Avenue, yeah. I remember all the Bohemians around that neighborhood.
Yeah.
and they call them bohawks.
Yeah.
Bohawks. They put a shawl on their heads, and they go around the street picking up coal. They'll fall off the trucks. You know,
Well, that was down on the riverfront.
or firewood, yeah.
On the river.
I can see them now.
I used to pick it up, remember? And we were talking one time with Evelyn, and we said, remember when I used to go down the East River and pick up the coal and I'd bring it home and put it under the bed? You know, we had a coal stove in the kitchen. It was a tenement house. And she says, no, we didn't keep it under the bed. We kept it in the bathroom, in the bathtub. I said, we didn't have a bathtub. She says, you're embarrassing me.
No, we had a big round tub, about 10 inches deep,
Yeah.
and everybody took a bath in that tub Saturday night. Pulled it. Evelyn first.
Evelyn was first.
It was the same water for everybody.
And I was third.
I can remember this coal stove that we used to burn wood in it because coal was like too expensive, and the kids used to chop wood in the street and sell it for a nickel a bag. Remember that? I think you used to do that.
Sure, you go to the factory and get a box, a big box, bring it back on a skateboard I had made, you know, and you chop it up and go around. So I buy a bag of wood, 10 cents.
And then the Iceman came with the ice.
Yeah.
Put the ice in the box.
In that ice box.
Yeah. One day the Iceman, I can remember this like it was yesterday. I was a little skinny kid, and he's telling my mother that he wanted me to wait for him to help deliver the ice, you know. And I says, my mother, he couldn't carry ice. Oh yeah, he can help. He can carry the ice. But I didn't take that one job. I declined. The coal stove also made the hot water.
Yeah,
It was
a tank above.
Big tank up above, and somehow or other it was hooked up to the stove, and that's what made the hot water go through there. Oh, we had our own toilet there, private toilet, you know. Now Jimmy is going to relate an incident in the colonial games. What happened there, Jimmy?
Well, I went to the bathroom and I locked the door, and this woman come down, the secretary, you know, she was an elderly
Mrs.
woman.
Thorburn.
Thorburn. She wanted to go into the bathroom, but the door was locked. So I was so embarrassed to come out of the bathroom, you know. I went out through the window. I was trying to get into the bathroom. What is that boy doing in the bathroom? It's an hour and a half now, and he hasn't come out.
Yeah. No, but you unlocked the door first before you went out the window.
I must have, yeah.
Yeah. And then Mom went down and said, oh, there's nobody in here. But how about the time you and I were sitting in the living room there, and Mr. Howard came to visit us,
Yeah.
and
I didn't want to see him.
And Jimmy, I went to the door. I had to go out into the big hall and then go to the door. And Jimmy didn't want to see Mr. Howard. So Jimmy goes into the closet, the clothes closet, and closes the door. So I come into the living room with Mr. Howard, and Jimmy isn't there. I'm thinking, where the hell did he go, you know? And I'm talking to Mr. Howard, and I'm looking around the room, and I see the closet door is open a little bit, and there's two eyes looking out. So I'm saying to myself, how can I get Jimmy out of that closet? Because if I bring him out now, Mr. Howard will think you guys nuts. So I say, Mr. Howard, did you see that new bronze plaque that we put on the front porch, you know, that tells all about the colonial dames?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. I have to take you out and show it to you. So I took him out to show him the bronze plaque. And while he's reading it, Jimmy sniffed out of the closet and up the stairs. And Mr. Howard never knew that Jimmy went into the closet. Talk a little about the summertime down there. You and a bunch of fellas you palled out with rented this bungalow in Keensburg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember what they paid for that, for the season?
Oh, $200, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and they all chipped in. At least 4 or 5 of them chipped in. I know I went down one summer for about a week. I was off. Then they had a car. Remember they made that car?
Make it a car,
Yeah, a Star, yeah. You never see them anymore. and they used to, bunch of girls used to come down over the weekend. The whole house was filled with fellas and girls who were sleeping all over the place.
Yeah, we called it Do Drop In. The name of the, everybody had a name on the bungalows.
And every Thursday, the blacks used to come down. Remember? They used to
Yeah,
call
they
it
were
dark,
out on the beach one day a
a
week.
dark cloud coming this way. It's Thursday. You wouldn't see any whites around at all. Well, I was working, I know. I must have been, maybe I was around 18, I guess, maybe.
In the 20s, wasn't it?
I worked for Bonafide Buildings. We're putting up garages and small buildings. And I was out in the sun all week. I got a beautiful tan, I love. I don't know where you were working. I guess you were working for Alito at the time. Alito became a United Parcel after that. Now, Jimmy, do you remember out in where Mary and Mima, Aunt Mary and Aunt Mima used to work out in Jersey?
Yeah.
You remember that address?
376 Franklin Street.
Right, I got
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield, New Jersey, yeah. I spent many summers out there. My our two aunts used to work for the three bachelors. What were their names?
Yeah.
Louis?
Howard and John.
Oh, there were four. There was George, too. Or was
Maybe
there
there was
John?
no John. Must have been George.
Yeah. My two aunts, Mary cooked for them, and Aunt Mama was a chambermaid.
Yeah.
And you never spent a whole summer out there, but I went out there several summers, I remember.
That was a nice big
It
park
was
there,
a
wasn't it?
big place, yeah. The town took it over and built the town hall on that
Property.
same property, yeah.
Trying to cut me my first job.
Yeah, Mr. Howard was very interested in our family, and there's a lot of other families that he was, tried to help out, if he could. I know, I think he left, when he died, he left my mother a couple of $1,000 in his will. And I remember going to church with him. He used to go to church on Sunday, I'd go along with him. I just want to talk about this phony $20 bill that you got in your salary one day.
Oh,
Remember that?
yeah.
How did you come to acquire that
Well,
$20 bill? How did you get that?
we used to get paid by check. I'd take all the men's checks and go up to the Coin Exchange Bank and they'd cash the checks. Then I'd come back and pay the guys off. And I wound up with my share of money, and it was one of the bills was a phony. I didn't know it.
So what did you do?
So-
They wanted to keep the money? They wouldn't give it back to you?
I was going to Delahanty's at that time, and I was down at 14th Street. I went into the automat to eat, and they changed it to 20, and the girl looks at it and says, "That's a counterfeit," and she stamped it counterfeit. And I said, "Give me back my 20. She says, "I can't. I have to give it turn it into the government." So we made a big fuss. The next thing you know, they had a cop in there, and he took me up to the station house to see what the sergeant would do. And the sergeant says, "It looks like a good bill to me." He says, "I don't know what the trouble is." He says, I said, "Well, give it back to me." He says, "No, I'll give you a receipt for it. It's the best I can do." So when I went back to work, one of the men in the building that lived in the building where I worked,
One of the tenants.
one of the tenants, one of the owners, they owned the apartment,
Yeah.
cooperative. He,
Mr. Burns.
I don't forget his name, Mr. Burns, I think. He gave me $20 for it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I guess the $20 didn't mean much to him, although it probably meant a lot to you. What was it? A week's pay, I guess, in those days.
Sure.
Well, folks, we're coming to the end of the reel now, and I'm just going to wind it up, and thank you all for listening. The dates that we were talking about was when my brother Jimmy was probably in his 20s, 20 to 25, and I was probably from 15 to 20. And my brother Tom, he was, my brother Randall, his name was Thomas Randall, he was 2 years older than Jimmy. We didn't see much of him in those days, did we? He was always running away from home. He'd come back with a black eye every once in a while. We didn't know where he had been, you know.
He got married when he was 17.
He was a wild kid. My mother was saying, oh, every time I go out in the street, the people are saying,
Paul Dottino